and we don't know how the banks are going to react to yesterday's jacking up of the rates. They say it's pain we have to endure because all the pandemic spending and what's going on around the world right now, from supply chain to the president's policies. In terms of the nuts and bolts, things you can't avoid unless you want to freeze to death in the winter. Winter heating costs are going to expand to 17.2%. It's very significant depending on how big or small your bill is already, because it's already been jacked up. So what I thought was so folly, if you look at our conversation right now, the practical family and how it relates to the grand policies, the macroeconomic policies, and how it relates to everyday people, you would think the last thing you'd want to do is make it more costly to purchase barrels of oil, or dare I say, drill our own oil and gas, and frack like we should be doing, especially in places like Pennsylvania. So when everyone says the last thing we want to do is refine less and produce less, except for a certain member of the squad, listen to her question to the major bankers of this nation when it comes to financing fossil fuels. Jamie Dimon is on the receiving end.
You have all committed, as you all know, to transition the emissions from lending and investment activities to align with pathways to net zero in 2050. So no new fossil fuel production starting today. That's like zero. So I would like to ask all of you and go down the list, because again, you all have agreed to doing this. Please answer with a simple yes or no. Does your bank have a policy against funding new oil and gas products? Mr. Dimon.
Absolutely not, and that would be the road to hell for America.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Sir, you know what? Everybody that got relief from student loans has a bank account with your bank should probably take out their account and close their account. You obviously don't care about working class people in frontline communities like ours that are facing huge amounts of high rates of asthma, respiratory issues, and so much more. Cancer rates are so high among my communities that I represent.
Wow. So she asked him a question and he told her the truth, and now she's saying you should pull your money out of JP Morgan if you're banking with them. So you've got this, you've got the high heating bills, you've got high gas prices. They're still high. Yeah, they've gone down a little bit, but they're still high. You've got food costs at the grocery store. Heating bills are up 17%. That is a huge chunk of change. Then you have your IRA, your 401k that's been hammered. The housing market is going to get hit with these high interest rates, because if you had a 30-year fix at 3%, why would you sell your house and sign up for a 6.5% interest rate? The economy is going to be slowing down because of these high interest rates, which means unemployment is going to change. It's going to go up. They're expecting it to go up to 4.4% by the end of next year. And then on top of that, the feds are going to raise, it's expected, they forecast them to raise the rates again by the end of the year, and then again next year. So interest rates are going to continue to go up. Then you have the supply chain issue. If your lease ran out on your car and you called your dealership, you said, my lease is up, I can't get a loan for, maybe you can extend it for 6 months. After that, you're in a pickle because you can't get a car. So they're telling many people who are calling these dealerships saying you have 2 more years to wait for another car. So you have to buy your car if you can even afford it. Buy out that lease.
Yeah. And one of the things, Ainsley, is there are tens of thousands of cars that have been built, but they just need some parts because of the supply chain thing.
Chips.
They're waiting to have chips, or they're waiting to get different things. I was reading that one variety of car made in the United States doesn't have heated seats now because they could not get the chips to heat the seats. And speaking of heat, you were talking about how it's going to cost more to heat your home in the winter. The average price for a house is going to be $1,200 in additional costs, which is going to kill people who are on a fixed income. And I was talking, we're down here at the Villages, where, as I mentioned, they sell 300 houses a month. The problem is not selling the houses here at the Villages. It's like, say they live in Michigan and they need to sell their house in Michigan to come down here. The problem is the people who buy the house in Michigan are going to be looking at the higher interest rates, and it's like, I don't know if I should really do that right now because I can't afford it. And it's all because of the higher rates of inflation and the Federal Reserve yesterday jamming on the brakes. But as we heard from Jerome Powell and others yesterday, what they've done so far hasn't really worked. And so they changed the target rate of inflation. It had been, they were trying to hit 2%. Now they've jacked it up. We're going to try to hit 3 or 3.25, Brian.
Yeah, I guess in the long run. But how that's going to happen, the combination with Paul Volcker and Alan Greenspan was cut the spending and raise the rates, deal with some pain. The problem with the president's formula is increase the spending, raise the rates. And no one's ever seen that formula successful. All I predict, as Mr. T said in Rocky III, is pain. And Mr. T, a fictional character, but Mr. T, very real.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.